120. The value of obedience. Presence of God. O Jesus, most obedient, make me understand the value of obedience. Meditation. 1. St. John of the Cross has said, God wants from us the least degree of obedience and submission, rather than all the works we desire to offer Him. SMJ 13. Why? Because obedience makes us surrender our own will, to adhere to God's will, as expressed in the orders of our superiors, and the perfection of charity, as well as the essence of union with God, consists precisely in the complete conformity of our will with the divine will. Charity will be perfect in us when we govern ourselves in each action not according to our personal desires and inclinations, but according to God's will, conforming our own to His. This is the state of union with God, for the soul that has attained complete conformity and likeness of will to the divine will, is totally united to and transformed in God supernaturally. As to 5:4. The will of God is expressed in His commandments, in the precepts of the Church, in the duties of our state in life. Beyond all that, there is still a vast area for our free choice, where it is not always easy to know with certitude exactly what God wants of us in the voice of obedience. However, the divine will takes on a clear, precise form. It comes to us openly manifest, and we no longer need to fear making a mistake. Indeed, as St. Paul says, there is no power but from God. Rom 13:1. So that by obeying our lawful superiors, we can be certain that we are obeying God. Jesus Himself, when entrusting to His disciples the mission of converting the world, said, He that heareth you, heareth me, and he that despiseth you, despiseth me. Luke 10:16. He teaches us here that ecclesiastical superiors represent Him, and speak to us in His name. Furthermore, St. Thomas points out that every lawful authority, even in the natural order, such as the civil and social spheres, when commanding within the just limits of its powers, manifests the divine will. In this very sense, the Apostle does not hesitate to say, Servants, be obedient to them that are your lords, as to Christ. Doing the will of God from the heart. F6, 5.6. 2. One of the greatest obstacles to full conformity of our will to God's is our attachment to our own desires and inclinations. Obedience, because it asks us to be governed by the will of another, is the best way of accustoming ourselves to renounce our own will, of detaching us from it, and of making us cling to the divine will, as revealed in the orders of our superiors. The stricter the form of obedience to which we submit, that is, the more it tends to govern not only some particular detail, but our whole life, the more intense will its practice be, and the more surely will it make us conform to the will of God. This is the great value of obedience, to unite man's life with the will of God, to give man, in every circumstance, the opportunity to govern himself, not according to his weak, fragile will, which is so subject to error, blindness, and human limitations, but according to the will of God. This divine will has such goodness, perfection, and holiness, that it can never be mistaken, nor will what is evil. It aims only at the good, not the transitory good, which today is and tomorrow is not, but the eternal, imperishable good. Obedience makes us this happy exchange renunciation of our own will for God's will. For this reason the saints loved obedience. It is said of Saint Teresa Margaret, of the Heart of Jesus, that, not only did she obey orders promptly, but she experienced intense pleasure in doing so, her whole aspect expressing the joy she found in obeying. If it is costly to nature to give up one's own will, to renounce a plan, a project, or a much cherished work, the interior soul will not stop at this act of renunciation, but will realize that by suffering and struggling to overcome itself, it will be carried much further. The soul is fixed in the will of God, which comes hidden in the voice of obedience, and it tends toward this will with all its strength, for to embrace the will of God is to embrace God Himself. Colloquy. Oh, how sweet and glorious is this virtue of obedience, which contains all the other virtues, because it is born of charity, and on it the rock of holy faith is founded. It is a queen, and he who espouses it knows no evil, but only peace and rest. The tempestuous waves of evil cannot hurt him, because he sails in your holy will, O my God. He has no wish which cannot be satisfied, because obedience makes him desire you alone, O Lord, who know his desires, and can, and will fulfill them. Obedience navigates without fatigue, and without danger comes into the port of salvation. O Jesus, I see that obedience conforms itself to you. I see it going with you into the little boat of the Holy Cross. Grant me, then, O Lord, this holy obedience anointed with true humility. It is straightforward, and without deceit. It brings with it the light of divine grace. Give me this hidden pearl trampled underfoot by the world, which humbles itself to submit to creatures for love of you. Saint Catherine of Siena. O Lord, I have only one life. What better way could I use it for your glory and my sanctification, and to submit it directly to obedience? Only by doing this shall I be certain that I am not wasting my time, or deceiving myself, for to obey is to do your will. If my will is very imperfect, yours is holy and sanctifying. If mine has only the sad power to lead me astray, yours can make holy my life, and all my acts, even the simplest and most indifferent, if they are accomplished at its suggestion. O Lord, the desire to live totally in your will urges me to obedience, and compels me to love and embrace this virtue, in spite of my great attachment to my liberty and independence. O holy, sanctifying will of my God, I want to love you above everything else. I want to embrace you at every moment of my life. I do not want to do anything without you, or outside of you.